The LA Clippers put together their best performance of the season against the best team in the league on Monday night at the Crypto.com arena, led by Kawhi Leonard's best game of the season. How did they play their best game, and why were they so successful in a 20-point win over the Celtics? Gonna be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers. Yes, sir! Boom!
Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day. Your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, where you can make your daily fantasy entries versus the Prize Picks projections. And those that made projections on Kawhi Leonard scoring over 20 points were successful on Monday night as the Clippers got a W over the Boston Celtics. My name is Darian Vaziri. I've been a Clipper fan for 18 seasons now. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod, and of course, subscribe to my own YouTube channel known as Dime Dropper, where I do more sports content, including Clipper content. And of course, to grow this channel and grow the show the best way, remember to subscribe to the Locked On Clippers YouTube and comment on today's pinned question. Is Kawhi officially back? Because oh boy, we got a lot to get into in this one. What a performance by the Clippers. The best one of the season, bar none. Going to be talking about why I say that. Why was it the best overall? And of course, talking about Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the role players. How they all did. Let's get right into it. This was a huge test for the Clippers. Even though there were injuries on both sides that we should account for. Norman Powell for the Clippers. Which, that's it. I'm so happy that I get to just say, and we want Norman Powell to get well soon, still out with that groin injury. But the fact that I've got no other names to report is a great sign for Clipper fans and for yours truly. For the Celtics, still no Rob Williams, hasn't played this season. But no Al Horford as well. So no true center out there or any semblance of a center besides Luke Cornett and Blake Griffin for the Celtics, and the Clippers did take advantage of that, no doubt about it. It all started in the beginning of the game. I think the Clippers' intensity on defense was a different focus than what we've seen so far this season. They were locked in. They knew all their coverages. There were very few defensive miscommunications and breakdowns. They knew exactly who they were switching on, who knew what they were doing in terms of every single pick and roll action. For example, senior Paul George and Kawhi were all switching 2, 3, 4 in that starting lineup. Ivica Zubac's in drop coverage. And I don't remember them really putting Reggie Jackson in the pick and roll too much. I think they could have done it more. Paul George started out on Jayson Tatum, Kawhi Leonard on Jaylen Brown. You saw those guys switch a lot when those guys were setting screens for one another. If it's a Zubats on drop coverage, did a good job of showing Jayson Tatum very early on that he wasn't going to get many easy buckets. Now, I think one thing the Clippers did very well in this game, and it started very early, was getting Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown in some sort of foul trouble. Now, Jayson Tatum only ended with 3 fouls, and Jaylen Brown had 4 fouls, but Jaylen Brown's foul trouble definitely affected that first half. And honestly, Jayson Tatum getting his first foul so early affected that first quarter. Both of them had a foul by the 9:45 mark of the first quarter, and I remember right after that, Paul George scored twice against Jayson Tatum. One of them where he went right to the basket and Jayson Tatum didn't want to get a foul, didn't want to get his second foul. Then there was another one where Ivica Zubac set a screen, Paul George came off of it and hit a 3. Although the funny thing was the Celtics actually started out the first couple of minutes a little better, and Blake Griffin was at the forefront, playing really well, taking charges. He even had a good defensive possession one-on-one against Kawhi Leonard when he switched on to him, and they were up 14-9. But after that, the Clippers went on quite a run. From that 14-9 point, They went on a 19-2 run, and then it ended up turning into a 20-3 run. The Clippers led 28-16, and as I said, it's that defensive intensity, active hands. All the Clippers, made life tough for the Celtics, and I think the Celtics settled for a lot of threes. They're the number one three-point shooting team in the league, but I think one of their tendencies, and me being a, UMass alumni and a guy that focuses on the Celtics quite a bit, know that even though I haven't watched them too much yet this season, I will as the season ramps up. But one of their biggest problems the last couple of years is that when they don't make threes, they don't really know where to go and they settle a lot. And I think when this team is at their best, this team meaning the Celtics, they're at their best when Jayson Tatum is being aggressive going to the rim. And in this game, he and Jaylen Brown and the rest of the team just shot a lot of threes, 39 of those to be exact, and they weren't hitting them. Only 9 of them were made. 23% from 3 overall for the team. And I think 4 of Jaylen Brown's threes and 4 of Jayson Tatum's threes, I counted and went back and looked, were very well contested. Very well contested by Clipper players. So I think that when they were open, they honestly made them or looked like they were, they looked like better shots and had better results. When they took bad shots, they just didn't really go in. And, I know they're tough shot makers, but overall, there were shots that the Clippers and myself as a Clipper fan were living with. But Kawhi Leonard, he slowly grew into the game. He was being aggressive. I loved how multiple times in this game he took Marcus Smart, the reigning defensive player of the year, right to the post and turned around right over him. The only thing I'll say about the Clippers was, at least in that first quarter, it was a bad finish to the quarter. Malcolm Brogdon came in and was making some tough shots. And Malcolm Brogdon, if you listen to my own personal podcast, Dime Dropper, you'll know that he was one of the one of the better additions of this offseason for any team. But the second quarter, in this game, you saw the Clippers not go for much Moses Brown or Moussa Diabate, who was active in this game. Ivica Zubac, by the way, was questionable in this game, but he did end up playing the Clippers' very own Iron Man, knock on wood. He doesn't miss any games. But he only played 17 minutes in this game, and because the Celtics didn't have a center, it allowed the Clippers to play small ball and not really get punished for it. Because Blake Griffin's not really posting you up and bullying you like he used to anymore. Luke Cornett is not that type of guy. There were even times where John Wall was guarding Luke Cornett. Although, weirdly, there were times where John Wall was being guarded by Luke Cornett, and I was disappointed at the fact that he wasn't just going right at him. But overall, the second unit I thought was really good. Again, Robert Covington not really playing at all. Didn't play a minute, I don't think, in this game. Coach's decision, yeah, he didn't play a minute. And Amir Coffey, Brandon Boston, Musa, and Moses played in garbage time. Overall, it was a 9-man rotation with Newt Kennard, Terrence Mann, John Wall, and Nico Batum. And I will say I can't complain with that decision from Ty Luternight because they played so well. With Nico and Terrence, you get guys that can switch on to basically everyone. And in this game, you saw a lot of lineups with either Nico or Marcus Morris as the tallest guys in there, but you saw not many small guys. You saw Luke Kennard out there with Terrence, with Kawhi, with Paul George. And what we said about small ball lineups with Kawhi Leonard being totally different is really seeming to age well, because with Kawhi Leonard in that small ball lineup with his rebounding ability and his length, it totally changes the look and gives the Clippers a lot more resistance, whether it be guarding the ball or rim protection or rotations. And I thought the Clippers looked pretty dang good in that second quarter. Nico Batum, was just doing all the dirty work yet again. Got a steal and caused Jaylen Brown to get his third foul with 8 minutes left in the second quarter, chasing him from behind. And that really changed the game because for a second, they took both Jays out at the same time, and the Clippers started to regain momentum, even though the Celtics did whittle away at that little 12-point lead the Clippers had. And I think unlike the first quarter, the Clippers ended the second quarter really well. Kawhi Leonard with some jumpers. And I know I made a mention of in the last episode that Kawhi from 18 feet didn't look very smooth yet. But in this game, he hit a couple of 18, 19 footers that he just walked into at the nail, top of the key, just bucket. And it looked so beautiful to see that. And Kawhi, even when Jaylen Brown came back into the game late in that first half with 3 fouls, went right at him because he knew that he had 3 fouls, and the Celtics started switching everything. In the beginning of the game, they went with Blake Griffin and a lot of drop coverage, which, again, Blake Griffin at center and drop coverage is not very intimidating. The Clippers have a center, Celtics don't. That was an advantage the Clippers had. But when Blake Griffin was in the next set, it was switch everything mainly. And the Celtics were switching everything, and the Clippers knew Blake Griffin's the mismatch. And I thought the Clippers played their smartest game of the season tonight because they went at those favorable matchups like that. There was even a time where Zubats had Malcolm Brogdon on him, and the Clippers didn't just let Reggie Jackson go one-on-one for some ridiculous contested jumper. They worked the ball into Zoo in the low post, and he got fouled. That's much smarter basketball. Kawhi Leonard sees, Jaylen Brown has 3 fouls. Let me put Jaylen Brown in the pick and roll, get him to switch on to me. Let me go at him and see if he can play defense without fouling. And he couldn't. Smarter basketball for the Clippers on both ends of the floor. A huge reason why they got this win. And that small ball lineup, a lot of it tonight. Ivica Zubats only got 17 minutes, but they really held their own, did a good job staying in front of the ball. And again, I think the Celtics kind of played into the Clippers' hands. They were second best in a lot of ways. They weren't as energetic. They didn't hustle as hard. And I think they settled for a lot of jumpers, a lot of contested ones. Yes, they missed a good amount of open ones too, but a lot were semi-contested. And when a team's not really hitting from 3, you're just going to make sure you put a hand up and don't allow them to get all the way to the basket. Don't close out too hard. And in the third quarter, Kawhi Leonard just continued to get buckets. Paul George, even though he wasn't the most efficient, still put pressure on the Celtics defense and was great. And the Clippers did not let up. They gave no quarter. For any Clipper fans that know, that's been the motto for them this season, give no quarter. And today was the first game in which they won every quarter of the game. And it was also the first game in which the Boston Celtics did not score 100 points. Gonna be talking even more about the performances of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, the rest of the guys coming up. Clippers win it 113-93. Oh, so much to get to in so little time. Gonna be talking more coming up. Tomorrow I'm taking LeBron James to get over 25 points. I'm taking Joel Embiid to get over 10 rebounds. And I am going to take, let's go with Russell Westbrook to get over 10 assists. And where am I doing that? I'm doing that on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy entry app where you make picks against the Prize Picks projections. Here's how it works. You pick 2 to 6 players and predict if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 25 times your money on any entry, and it's not competing against other people, it's just you and the projections. And Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, safe and fast withdrawals, and currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Just download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON to sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Thanks for making Locked On Clippers your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Clippers with a big win, their best win of the season thus far, 113-93 over the Boston Celtics in LA. Also want to say, shout out to all the Clipper fans in attendance tonight. There's a lot of green in the crowd, as you would always expect. Celtics fans travel as well as any, and there are Celtics fans everywhere. But you Clipper fans really held it down, sounded really good on TV. So shout out to the Clipper fans as the Clips go 16-13 after this win, 8-6 now at home. And I thought one thing that was so great for the Clippers, they actually won each quarter by 7 points or less, but they slowly just built up the lead, and I thought that was just a testament to their attention to detail, their continuous effort to not only just stay in front of the ball, but just be active in terms of the passing lanes and have active hands that cause turnovers and allow them to play a little bit of transition. The Celtics turned the ball over 15 times. This is one of the best stats you'll hear tonight. Clippers only turned the ball over 9 times. And that's been a real theme for the Clippers so far this season, especially in the games that they've lost, turning the ball over too much. You'll be very happy to know that they only turned the ball over 9 times. Paul George only twice, Kawhi Leonard twice, Reggie Jackson twice. And I want to give a real shout out to Reggie Jackson. I thought that he did not do too much tonight. It was his first game since the Denver game in late November that he didn't shoot 10 shots or more. He shot 8 shots. He stayed in his lane. He played his role, didn't do too much. And you can just see how much smoother our offense looks when you've got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, the superstar threat of those two out there, the attention that they draw, whether they have the ball in the mid post or are just running pick and rolls as ball handlers. They get so much attention, and what's great is that they can play off of each other. Now you have Paul George getting open shots, or in this case, like we saw tonight on one occasion, Kawhi Leonard got an open 3 off Paul George getting double teamed. So it changes everything, and it's so great to see. And the Clippers did such a great job of just staying in charge. And a guy I got to give another shout out to is Terrence Mann. This guy, obviously a Lowell, Massachusetts native. He's got a little bit of ties, not a little bit of ties, that's where he's from. He lived and grew up around Celtics fans and Celtics Nation, and he played like a typical Terrence Mann game, just working really hard, doing all the little things, battling on the offensive glass, coming out of nowhere for some incredible rebounds. I mean, this guy had 5 offensive rebounds in the game. The Clippers out offensive rebounded the Celtics 11-5, and you've got to give them so much credit. That was just pure heart and work. It's been a long time since I feel like I've said the Clippers really outworked a team. They really played harder. They were the first to lose balls. They played like a team that was putting on for all the fans that probably paid a solid amount, even though Clipper tickets are relatively cheap, a solid amount for that game, which is probably one of the hotter tickets of the season. And boy, oh boy, I was so proud. 3rd sellout of the season officially, as reported on ESPN, 100% attendance listed. So shout out to everybody at the game tonight. But Terrence Mann gave the fans what they wanted with his effort on both ends of the floor. He even had 9 points and 7 rebounds of his own to go along with his great defense that will never show up in the stat sheet. So pleased with him. So pleased with Nico Batum, who only shot 2 shots and scored 7 points, had 7 boards to go along with 2 steals, guarded a little bit of everybody tonight. Just awesome stuff all the way around from those guys. And the small ball lineup really took care of things, and Kawhi Leonard is a big reason for that. But, there's always a 2 sides to things. I think that the refs weren't great, and for once, giving the Clippers some love is pretty nice. I think there were questionable calls on both sides. But I think Boston, they were switching a lot, and they just didn't have much resistance at the rim. I think that Al Horford is such a big player for them, such a big player. And when they get Robert Williams back, the sky's the limit. I think Marcus Smart, for example, tonight just didn't have a good game. He got in foul trouble, had 5 fouls, was 1 for 6, 1 for 4 from 3. Granted, a good amount of those, I think the majority of those were good looks. But, he can be very streaky. Only had 3 points, so he's their 3rd best player, and he did not have a good game in the slightest. Derek White made his first 3, but then he was 1 for 3 from deep, only finished with 3 points. So if you combine Blake Griffin, Marcus Smart, and Derek White, they only had 11 points. So you're only getting 11 points from 3 starters. It's going to be hard to win a road game. And the Clippers, they played really well, and it's not just the Celtics having a bad game. It goes both ways. The Clippers made them have a bad game, and you gotta give them credit. There's 2 sides to every story, and the Clippers story is the one that came out on top in this one. Gonna be going over some stats and talking just a little bit more about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Is Kawhi Leonard officially back? Gonna be answering that question coming up. The World Cup semifinals are underway, and Croatia are plus 700. They have the 3rd highest odds out of 4 to win the whole thing. But honestly, I would not be afraid to place a little bet on them if I were you. Each of these last couple of World Cups in my lifetime have been decided by the teams with the best midfield, and look no further than Luka Modric, Mateo Kovacic, and Marcelo Brozovic for Croatia in that midfield. And where do you want to place your bet on them? You got to do it on Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for your sports betting info and stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball World Cup. We've got it all on betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those on BetOnline as well. Just head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. To close out, let's finish talking about this best performance of the season for the Clippers, who shot 40%. And Kawhi Leonard, I thought, to start the fourth quarter, just did his thing. Just did a good job of putting the nail in the coffin for the Clips. Or putting the nail in the coffin for the Celtics. And the Clippers just kind of ran away with it. Kawhi with a 3-ball, too, off a Reggie Jackson pass with 7 minutes and 20 seconds left. And then scored right after that as well with a little 12-footer. So great stuff from Kawhi. You just saw him putting on a show in terms of the mid-post game, the fades over either shoulder. He was getting to the rim and being aggressive, and he was doing good things on the other end as well, like I talked about in the last episode. 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm so encouraged. My fingers are crossed that he is going to stay healthy, because this is signs of the Kawhi Leonard that's one of the best players in the league. Now, you've been listening to my podcast. Have I sounded reactionary at times? Absolutely. Have I sounded negative at times? Absolutely. Even here on Locked On Clippers. I think that's what I mean by my podcast. I didn't mean Dime Dropper. I meant this podcast. But I never have counted us out, and I've never said that Kawhi Leonard is cooked or anything like that. I've been saying all I want to see is him get on the court so we can get into our bag as a team, so to speak, into a groove sooner rather than later. Now, teams like the New Orleans Pelicans and Memphis Grizzlies are starting to get hot at the top of the standings, but I think the Clippers, being 3 games above 500 and no Western Conference team standing out that much, now is a great time to start getting things going, because Kawhi Leonard now, with 2 straight games of over 30 minutes, or it was 29 minutes tonight, so 29 or more, 25 points in this one, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. His defense was great. 10 for 12, ladies and gentlemen. 10 for 12 from the field. 2 for 3 from deep. 2 for 3 from deep. Yes. I mean, it's so exciting. It's so exciting seeing him play this way. And if this is the Kawhi Leonard, honestly, no, he's going to get better than this. This is not the Kawhi Leonard we're going to be getting. We're going to be getting an even better version. What I should say is, if the Clippers can stay healthy, that championship vision is very much alive and well. Because even though this Boston Celtics team didn't have Al Horford, didn't have Rob Williams, Clippers didn't have Norman Powell, there's so much season left to be played. It's still very early. And it's all about getting right at the right time. I just want the Clippers to be in a position where they're not making their lives too hard in the playoffs so that they either get another injury or burn out, which means top 3 seed, which I've been emphasizing from the beginning. But man, they're going to get closer to being a top 3 seed with performances like that. Shooting 40% from 3 in the game, and one thing I really loved, they didn't overdo it. 10 for 25. I thought that their switch everything lineups were making the Celtics play a lot of one-on-one. I also thought in the second half the Celtics started going switch everything and making the Clippers play one-on-one, but it's a huge difference when you got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George out there, isn't it? And Paul George, yeah, you can say he was 8 for 22. I love the way he played tonight. You know why? Because he got to the foul line 9 times, which is the most of any Clipper. He made 8 of those free throws. He was 8 for 22, but 2 for 5 from 3, 26 points, 6 rebounds, really good on defense, took the challenge of guarding guys like Tatum and Jaylen. And when efficiency can be very overrated, when you do all the things that Paul George does, it doesn't matter that he shot, almost 33%. Probably shot like, I don't have the math right in front of me, but about 37% probably. Paul George did his thing. The Clippers did their thing. 40% from 3, 49% from the field. If it's his Zubats, it wasn't really his game, but it wasn't like what I talked about in the last episode, that it's because he got outplayed by Blake Griffin or anything like that. And mind you, it was funny seeing Blake Griffin start out well, but we did start to go at him more on defense. And He tried to have an insane posture, like, going back to the Lob City days. I got the crowd probably really excited, but he missed and got fouled. Ivica Zubac's only 4 points in this game, only played 17 minutes. A lot of small ball for the Clippers, but they killed it. As I said, Nicholas Batum, 7.7 boards. Terrence Mann, 9.7 boards. And Luke Kennard, I can't forget about him. Really good, especially in the beginning of the fourth quarter. He kind of put the game away. 3 balls, coming off screens from mid-ranges. Just when people run him off the line, he steps into those mid-range jump shots. It's really beautiful and gives him a whole nother threat. He had 12 points, so the only bench player in double figures for the Clips. 5 for 9 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3. Just beautiful stuff. An all-around amazing performance for the Clippers. Hopefully a sign of things to come. That's now 2 wins in a row. Hopefully going to make it 3 in their next game against the Minnesota Timberwolves on ESPN. That'll be on Wednesday night, the 14th. Going to be really looking forward to that one. The first look for the Clippers at Minnesota this season. For the Celtics, Jayson Tatum with 20 points and 11 rebounds, turned the ball over 3 times, was 7 for 20. So the Clippers doing an absolutely fantastic job there. Jayson Tatum shooting only 35% in the game. Jaylen Brown, 9 for 15 with 21 points, but was 1 for 6 from deep. I thought like 4 of those were just not very good shots. But Jaylen Brown is a contested 3-point shot maker, so you're going to live and die by those, I guess. Hasn't paid off in a championship for the Celtics so far, but this could very well be the year. They dropped to 21-7, but they're still as good a team in the league as anyone, which makes the win for the Clippers that much sweeter. And because the Celtics are the number 1 offensive rating in the league, and the Clippers held them to under 100 for the first regular season game since last season. So go Clippers. Remember, comment on today's video. The pin question, is Kawhi Leonard back? I think he's back. And I think as long as he stays on the court, we're going to start seeing the best player on the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard. That's what he was in this game. So encouraging, Clipper Nation. I can't contain my excitement. This is it. I can't wait to be back at Staples Center soon. This is what I was preaching before the season. Just hopefully they can stay healthy and now, for once, finally, gain some continuity and rhythm. Norman Powell, we miss you. We need you back soon. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. And, of course, subscribe to Locked On Clippers and my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper. Back on Wednesday with another pod. Who knows what we'll be talking about? Could be so many good things. Peace out. You know the age-old proverb, go Clippers.